Best bet, let's go back to the AAC Championship game I talked about earlier. Again, I cannot stress enough how bummed I am about this Preston Stone injury. You never want to see someone get hurt, obviously, especially in college. And like I said earlier, if Stone was playing, SMU might be a 5% play for me. I had them power rated as better than Tulane, even when factoring in the home field advantage here for the Green Wave all season long. I got to be honest with you guys. I felt the wrong team from this conference was ranked. I like this SMU team a lot. I would have fired quite big on them with Preston Stone, but I think I'm going to stay the course here with the Ponies. I mentioned earlier on the show, Tulane's only loss this year was to Ole Miss. Well, SMU, their two losses were to Oklahoma and TCU. So we're talking about two teams that didn't lose in conference play. And I said SMU had a better yards per play differential. Obviously, that is true. But Stone out, though, we got to take season-long numbers with a grain of salt. The backup Jennings, a three-star recruit for the record, what he can do here, and I think this is how SMU can be effective offensively, is hand the ball off to a backfield where you have three different guys that averaged 5.2 yards per carry. I'm already on the record as saying Tulane not as good as they were last season. No Tyjae Spears, and that's big against an SMU defense that allows just 117.8 yards rushing per game. I believe that odds makers have overreacted just a bit to this Stone injury, and I'm going to take the points with what I feel is the better team. SMU plus 3.5 is your best bet for the show today, and don't miss my 5% max bet for Saturday, currently up on my page, wt.buzz/BP. 4-1 last Saturday in college football, wire-to-wire winners on Ball State, Auburn, and BYU. Capped the day with an outright winner on San Diego State. 67% last year in the bowls, looking for a big conference championship weekend. And once again, that's SMU plus 3.5 as your best bet.
Best bet portion of the program here. And I'm going to go back to the Pac-12 championship game that I just analyzed earlier. I'm going to go ahead and play Oregon first half here. Again, I wouldn't talk anybody off of playing Oregon full game. Just a personal preference here to play first half with them. A little bit of respect for Michael Penix Jr., Roma Dunze, and that wide receiving core to maybe stick one in late. I don't know that. And it's hard to give 10 points, at least for me, to Kalen DeBoer. But I do think first half is a way to go here. Oregon's played 12 games this season. 9 times in those 12 games, they won the first half by more than 6. In fact, their differential where first half scoring is concerned comes out to 27.3 to 8.7. That's almost a 19-point winning margin. Some of those absolute blowouts, of course, but 9 times they've won the first half by more than 6, which is what's required here. If you shop hard enough, you can find a 5.5 out there. So certainly I think that they're a team that can get this job done. They've proven it over the course of the season. A lot of the reasons that I discussed earlier are reasons for this play. One, it's a revenge spot. And I just go back to the game where they had revenge against Utah a couple years back and destroyed that team from start to finish. Not saying they'll destroy Washington. The possibility does exist, but I think from start to finish, at least from the outset, they'll be the better team. And I like their defense. Brian Leonard talked about it a little bit, how good their defense is. And remember, Dan Lanning came from Georgia, a little bit of Georgia background. And you can see it being instilled into this Oregon team. To me, offensively, they're too well balanced. There's too much to handle if you're the Washington defense, which hasn't been great all season long. And defensively, they're the better team. I think that they can make the adjustments from game one to win this game here on the neutral field. Also, the 2 turnover on downs inside the 10-yard line, if those turn themselves around, Oregon could get a lot of separation, but I think they'll have separation early. Look for them to be ahead by 7 or more at halftime. That's going to be my best bet for the show. Oregon first half -6 in the Pac-12 championship against Washington.
Hey, Brian Leonard here. We're going to talk some MAC football, and that's where I got my start. 1985 graduate of Akron University. Followed this conference for years. Was once known as the MAC expert when it comes to football, but I've been very selective with my plays so far in the MAC, but I do think this is a playable game here in the MAC championship, and so we'll get to this one right now. Game's being played in Detroit, which should favor Toledo right across the lake there, and this line opened at 6.5, and it's quickly been bet up to 8. When you find a line go through the key number of 7, that takes pretty good money to move it through there. So the wise guys who bet this early took it from 6.5 to 8. A main reason being the Red Hawks will be missing their starting quarterback. Brett Gabbert had a 14-5 touchdown to interception ratio this season. Miami has a 10-2 record. They lost the previous meeting to the Rockets 21-17 at home. But once league play has started, this Miami defense has been dominant. In MAC action, this is every MAC team they've played all season long. And keep in mind, the MAC, there's always been a lot of good offenses in the MAC, but the MAC this year against Miami have only scored 3, 0, 21, 21, 18, 0, 10, and 15 points. Not a single team in this entire conference was able to score more than 21 total points against this Miami defense. I don't care who you play, those numbers are outstanding. And with a backup quarterback, that stop unit will be needed on more than ever in this game. Toledo has long been a dominant force in the MAC. In fact, they're riding an 11-game winning streak heading into this battle. Their lone loss on the season was the opener. It's kind of silly now when you take a look at it. 30-28 to Illinois, who at that time, the first couple of games, actually looked like a pretty good football team. Didn't end up that way. We don't expect a lot of points to be scored here, as this line's been bet down to 44. While we really respect this Miami stop unit, the Red Hawks offense is at a major disadvantage here. Toledo's a team that has been in these games a lot over the years. They've had great success in the MAC. Even though I don't think they'll score many points, I really have concerns about Miami, Ohio scoring against this Toledo stop unit. So I'll lay the points here, the 8 points with Toledo, in what I expect, and the lines maker also expects to be a low-scoring game. I also wouldn't have a problem with, if you're looking to play Miami, Ohio under team total, that would work as well. But our best bet here is going to be on Toledo -8, and let's get a win for the Rockets in the MAC championship.